My name is Richard Lacey, Tamarindo Rich. I've been in Costa Rica since the 1990s. I've bought and sold properties all over the country, and I've advised hundreds of buyers and sellers on the best way forward with their properties. If you like today's topic, then please subscribe below. Please click on alert so you get advised the next time a video goes out. We try to do one every Friday whenever we can. Today's topic is don't buy property in Costa Rica, it is overpriced. And it's something I've heard many times over the last 10, 12 years. I have a database of over 20,000 people that get my newsletters every couple of weeks. We're showing properties to 15, 20 families sometimes a week. We're selling multiple properties a week. So we get a lot of feedback, generally very positive, about the market here. Especially as I've become more visible on social media, I get trolls coming in saying, no, this is an overpriced market. Why would anyone buy here? And so I just wanted to address that because it's a very frustrating thing, and it's fine if people have analysed the situation and then made their decision. Yeah, it's fair enough, everybody's got their opinion. People sort of tend to throw out these comments without really studying the situation. It's very frustrating for me, we're professionals and we're trying to give a good advice so people make the right decision for the next move in their lives. And I just wanted to address some of these misconceptions. So a popular one is Nicaragua is half the price, Honduras is half the price, Belize is half the price, Peru, Ecuador are half the price. Why would anyone buy in Costa Rica? Well, Costa Rica is one of the most popular markets. The real fundamentals, before you even look at your first property, is to look at the country and the government and the rule of law. And one really good thing about Costa Rica, it is a stable democracy. They respect the voting process. There hasn't been a coup here forever. There's a robust property registry, so if you buy something, you really do own it, and the president's brother isn't going to come along and make a claim to it and take it. The police force are present, and in general, crime is very low, and violent crime is almost non-existent. Very, very rarely do you hear cases. So that's how I address the argument about other countries being cheaper. Yes, absolutely there are, but I can't remember the last time someone was considering Costa Rica versus Nicaragua and choosing to buy in Nicaragua, because it's just not at that point yet where it's considered a safe investment. So I'd say about half my time is spent advising sellers, and about half my time is spent advising buyers. So really, I'm in a very fortunate position in order to see how people arrive at selling prices, and then buyers, when they're looking, what kind of decisions are they taking as they're going through the buying process. But the assertion about Costa Rica real estate being overpriced, in a way it's caused by promoters that are over-aggressively promoting Costa Rica. They're often blurring the lines between the cost of a property inland or on a beach that's maybe difficult to get to or doesn't have any amenities. And then they're describing the lifestyle in one of the popular beach towns that has paved roads, good services, good police force, etc. And so sometimes there's a misconception when people start looking between what their expectation is and what the reality here is. Sometimes they come to the conclusion, well, it's just overpriced here. I would say about 80% of our buyers are buying a second home. And so they're not planning to live here initially full-time. They're not selling their first home and moving here. They're using it as a holiday home for 8 weeks a year, 10 weeks a year. And then over time, they're spending more and more time down here. So often the sellers, they have a very different thought process to the sellers of a residential market. Normally, they're not under a lot of time pressure to sell. Costa Rica is essentially a cash market, so they're not under pressure because they've got interest payments that they need to make each month. And the seller is often selecting a price based on what he paid for it plus a percentage, or what he needs for the next step in his life. So if he's identified another property, then he needs to achieve this price in order to buy the property that he wants. So they're often making decisions not based on market conditions, but really on their personal circumstances. Realtors don't choose the selling price. The seller chooses the selling price. I know this sounds really obvious, but it's a common misconception. If we're going through a listing process, we will offer up our opinion on the selling price, but at the end of the day, the seller makes his decision. In our office, our policy is that we don't take overpriced listings. So if the seller's expectation is different to what we consider is a fair selling price, we won't take the listing. Now, other realtors will, because they're keen to get the listing and they will take it and put it up on their website at any price. So you will see overpriced listings on the market here. So that there is absolutely no question about that. And part of our job when we're representing buyers is to identify which ones are well priced and which ones aren't. When deciding on selling price, a key factor is the urgency of the sale. I often get asked what I think a property is worth, and we have a standard analysis that we do. But the key factor is the urgency. There's a price to sell within a month, there's a price if you want to sell in 6 months, and there's a price if you're fine selling in 2 years from now. You will see a wide variety of prices out there that are based on the seller's personal circumstances. So then the fundamental question is, how do you spot an overpriced property? And that's not as easy in a second home market like Costa Rica as it is in a residential market. Firstly, because architectural styles and build quality vary dramatically in a very small neighborhood. Whereas on a street or in a neighborhood in a first home market, it tends to be the architectural styles are very similar, build quality is very similar. So traditional ways to evaluate it, such as price per square foot, is much more difficult. And the other factor that skews that equation of price per square foot is the concept of indoor-outdoor living. So here in Costa Rica, you have your air-conditioned space and then large glass doors that open onto an outdoor area, which is as valuable as a living area as the air-conditioned space, but traditional measures of price per square foot value them differently. And you may have a house that has a very large outdoor area, which is actually a much more comfortable space to be living in. But because of valuing your air-conditioned space at 100% and your non-air-conditioned spaces at 50%, it tends to skew the equation. So you really need to dig a little bit deeper than just looking at price per square foot. Days on market is a good indicator to a certain extent. In general, in a second home market, days on market is always longer than in a residential market. But if you're looking at, it should be one of the first questions you're asking, how long has it been on the market? And if it's been on the market for a short time, then you don't know. But certain properties have been on the market 2, 3, 4 years. And that's the first thing you should be looking at and asking, and really asking yourself why. Maybe they've got certain characteristics that are absolutely for you and they're the one. But in general, if they've been on the market for a long time, it's because they're overpriced. Another factor to bear in mind is if the property has a really unique attribute. For example, there's a 3-bedroom house, it was a fairly modest house, listed at a high price. But what it has is a stairway down to a private beach. In Costa Rica, there are no private beaches. By law, any beach is open to the public. But there are certain beaches that just because of the access or the topography means that really it's not a beach that the public goes to. And this is one of those secret beaches, and this house has a stairway right down. And so the price is significantly higher than a comparable 3-bed house somewhere else. But in my view, it's worth it. It's going to sell eventually because the buyer's going to come along and think, okay, that's exactly what we want. So again, it's a property you might look at initially and go, okay, now that's overpriced. But really, there are certain factors in it that means that there is going to be a buyer for that property. Our buyers here, as I mentioned, probably 80% are second home buyers. It tends to be a cash market here. That's occasionally you find a seller willing to give owner financing. So generally buyers here, they're financially astute. They've got to where they are today because they've made smart financial decisions and they like money and they don't give it away unless it's for a good reason. So the people buying Costa Rica tend to be smart and tend to have done their research, take their time and find the right property. That said, there's a lot of emotion going into the purchase here. If you're buying a second home, you're buying where you want to be because you want it. You're not buying in this neighborhood because it's close to your in-laws or it's close to your work or it's close to the good school. You're buying here because you want it and because you like it, and it's fulfilling a dream. Buyers' budgets are much more flexible. I've had people come to me and they state their budget, and we'll find a property for them at that price point. Often during the showing process, when we're looking at properties and they realize they can't get the lifestyle they want for the price that they've given, very often they can move things around, sell a few stocks, change around some of their other investments, and then suddenly they can double their budget or have whatever they were missing in order to get the property that they wanted on the beach or in the location that they wanted. So coming back to the topic of today's video, is Costa Rica real estate overpriced? I would say it's at market price. By definition, a property sells when you have a willing buyer and a willing seller, and there is good information in the market. If you check out our website, which is posted below, we've got about 2,000 properties right now all over the country. People coming in and buying, they're generally studying the market, and they're taking their time and they're making good decisions. So properties that are selling are at market price by definition, and properties that are stuck there for a long time are overpriced. So I would say the answer is that there are properties listed that are overpriced, unquestionably. The market right now, I don't see it as being overpriced in the sense that there are still willing buyers coming into the market. And in fact, we're selling more now than we have done in many, many years. The final point I want to discuss today is the current market prices, where I think the market is today. It's unquestionably a seller's market right now. Our inventory has depleted rapidly over the last few months. We've had a lot of sales since in the last 6 months or so. We've seen a dramatic increase in the activity in the market here. There's less inventory on the market. Prices are going up steadily. I don't think they've shot up, but steadily we're seeing price increases. More importantly, we've seen that sellers are less willing to negotiate on the prices. I'd say 6 months ago, you were seeing a lot more price flexibility back and forth between buyer and a seller than we're seeing today. Sellers know that if this buyer doesn't buy, then there'll be another one along shortly. And that's a fundamental change over the last few months. There are still some good deals coming on the market. Buyers are having to move very quickly. And we've seen several cases recently where properties are coming on the market, and within days they've gone under contract. So there are deals available for buyers that are able to move quickly. I hope today's video has been useful. Please take a look below in the text. There's a link to our website. I put my email address down there if you have any questions you want to get hold of me. Yeah, please take a look at the other videos in the series. The objective here is to help you to make a good decision about whether Costa Rica is right for you, and if it is, let's find you the right property at the very best price we can. Thank you.